With Lululemon, the real gift happens when they're living in it. When you give the fan favorite Everywhere belt bag, the real gift is... And when the ultra-soothing Rest Feel slides are the gift, you're really giving them... This holiday, Lululemon makes it easy to give little luxuries that go beyond. Open the moment. Shop now at Lululemon.com.
Good morning, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. You're joining us in the wee hours. It's about 12:15 on Saturday morning, November 23rd. I'm joined as always by Josh Bowe. Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I know we like to talk about these late games and being tired, but I will watch these types of games at late at night 10 out of 10 times over, the Spurs without Wembanyama or the Pelicans missing 8 of their best players or whatever. Like, I will stay up and watch these games because these games are so much more fun. And I feel like we actually have stuff to talk about. Like, that was truly one of the most impressive wins they've had in years in the regular season.
I was having a great time. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Nuggets on the road without Luka Doncic, 123-120. Since we last spoke to you guys on Tuesday, Luka Doncic has been ruled out for at least a week with a right wrist strain. Don't know what that means. Don't really feel like looking into it. Just going to basically say over the grind of the regular season, Luka missing 3 games to get whatever is wrong with him right is fine by me, particularly during this stretch of games where the schedule on paper appears a little softer than normal. The Mavericks notched their 4th straight win to improve to 9-7 with a string of performances from less than likely sources with Luka Doncic out. I mean, it's kind of hard to know where to start with this. Well, no, there's one guy in particular that you want to start with, and Najee Marshall, who had a career high. I want to say he had 26 points, something like 10 of 14 or 10 of 15 from the floor. Was really just his 3-point shot went down 3 times. I think it was an incredible performance from the, you want to call them like unsung heroes or any nonsense like that. We talk about them all the time, but from guys who we don't necessarily expect to carry the load. Where should we start? Where do you think?
Yeah, we can either start with Najee. We could start with their starting front court, but you already mentioned Najee, so we got to talk about it. Led the team in scoring. Team high 26 points, like you said, made 3 3-pointers. Fun fact, Kirk, you've been tracking his 2-pointers versus 3-pointers most of this season. He had 4 made 3-pointers this season coming into tonight. He made 3. So that just goes to show. And the first one he made tonight was a desperation shot clock is expiring, one-footed running
grenade.
Yeah.
Somebody threw the ball to him. It was like on a long rebound, I think, that didn't graze the rim, and he just had to get a shot up.
Yeah. So, and that's how it is, right? One goes in, and now it's like, oh yeah, I can make them. And then he made a couple more. He made corner threes, which was actually important. The Mavericks haven't been making a lot of corner threes lately.
The Mavericks corner threes are so bad that I saw a tweet. I might go find it while you're talking. Go ahead.
Well, they made 7 of 11 tonight, and I think attempts and makes, that's a lot than they get in a normal game this season. Their percentages on corner, like it's not just the volume though, but their percentages on corner threes have been bad. So that was huge.
So let me read this to you. This is incredible. PJ was shooting 6% on corner threes before tonight. Najee shooting 17%. Clay shooting 7% from the left corner and just 31% overall from corners. The Mavericks have some positive regression coming their way.
Yeah, they certainly do. So, maybe Najee just needed to make that wild one. And now that he saw it, he'll start making more. But yeah, he was awesome. 11 to 15 from the floor. If he was 3 or 4 from 3, yeah, he was killing it in the paint again. His floaters, I love his floaters, man, because every time he shoots a floater, he does the Jordan Jumpman logo. Like he always does the splits in midair when he jumps to shoot his floaters, and it kind of looks a little ridiculous, but he makes them. I thought that this game was kind of like, if there's been a lot of Mavs fans that there's been some consternation about why did the Mavericks prioritize Najee Marshall in free agency over retaining Derrick Jones Jr., because their contracts were pretty similar. So they could have had both theoretically, or not both, but they could have had Derrick Jones Jr. They pretty much decided they wanted Najee Marshall.
Yep.
This is why, right? Like a guy that can take the ball and not necessarily, run offense. I don't think he was running a ton of pick and rolls, and he wasn't necessarily first option stuff, but just guys that can do stuff. That's kind of the vision of this roster. More guys that can do stuff. That's been the vision of Nico Harrison since Cuban finally gave him the reins. Less specialist, one way, low cost players that Luka has to do everything else, and more guys that could just do stuff. That can dribble, that can attack a closeout, that can score in the paint. And Najee was a big representation of that tonight. So is PJ Washington. And I just thought, I could go deeper into this point, but I thought tonight represented the vision of what I think we had for this team. And I think what the front office has for this team in terms of the defensive edge is still there. And now I know the Nuggets scored 120 points. They had 50 plus points in the paint, but I thought the Mavericks defended okay. Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson combined to make 5 3-pointers. That's 15 points. Maybe the Nuggets have 12, that's 12 more points than maybe the Nuggets would expect with how those guys are shooting threes coming into tonight. So, you kind of take that for what it is. I like the Mavericks activity level defensively for most of the night. I think they guarded the paint and the rim pretty well, considering how good and how unstoppable Jokic is. So that's the vision, is you retain that defensive edge from last season, but just dial it, turn the dial. The dial last season was cranked all the way to defense. They started Derrick Jones Jr. They started a non-shooting center, whether it was Lively or Gafford, and PJ Washington, who couldn't make shots. That was 3 non-shooters with Kyrie and Luka, because they were we're just going to out-athlete. We're going to beat the hell out of you on defense. And that got them to the finals, but I think we saw the limitations. And it was clear this offseason, they were well, how can we just twist that dial so it's not all the way to offense, but just closer to offense while still having that defensive intensity? And I think we saw that tonight with what Najee Marshall did, what PJ Washington did, what Quentin Grimes did, and what the centers Gafford and Lively did.
Oh yeah, man. And the funny part is when we jump into talking about Najee first. Najee was the sixth man tonight.
I know. Almost didn't get into the game, fast enough in that fourth quarter when things were melting down, which was so weird.
That was something.
Glad we don't have to talk about line.
Well, this was, and we jumped ahead a little bit, and I think it's fine to leave Najee because the way the game went, the Mavericks and the Nuggets played kind of a back and forth first quarter. Mavericks couldn't really take advantage of some sloppy Nuggets ball. In the second quarter, they blew the game wide open, where all of a sudden, and it really felt this way. It felt like all of a sudden the Mavericks were up by 12, 16, then 20, then 24 points. And this was kind of a devastating first half from the Mavericks, where they were doing a lot of things well. They were frustrating Jokic when he was in. Guys like Marshall obviously scoring a fair amount of points. They were like, I think Spencer Dinwiddie he shot and hit a corner three that managed to rattle all the way around the rim and bounce in off the backboard anyways. Like there was just some incredible shot making going on in this game. Second half rolls around, and then the third quarter, it was just, look, it happened. It's over with. The Mavericks gave up a 20-point lead in the third quarter, like the entire third quarter. Kid called a timeout at one point, didn't make a difference. It was so frustrating to me watching this one in the sense that they opened up the second half with two great actual fucking plays, like real plays. And then they just went away from everything. Like, I get so tired of watching this offense stop doing things that work. It's nuts.
That's why, and that's why when everyone's like, "Wow, look what they look like without Luka." Well, you need Luka turns out you need your All NBA offensive superstar during moments where your team kind of is like, well, "What do we do?"
That's right.
That's kind of what they look like, right? In that third quarter, and Kyrie looked gassed. He did not have it in the second half. Nope. Which led to the second half smooth. Man, I think he only had 2 points in the second half.
Kyrie played
4.
He played a good floor game because he advanced, and we'll circle back to that. Third quarter kind of rolls along, and it's very frustrating. But the Mavericks still ended up with a pretty good lead going into the final quarter. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that was the case. Let me just go check to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass.
No, they had like a
the 6-point lead. It wasn't a great lead, but it was enough. They felt like they'd stabilized things. Only the problem was Denver just kept coming. And all, Jaden Hardy made a 3, like one of the few, he had probably one of his worst games in 3 or 4, which is, it happens. Westbrook went on a 3-point shooting barrage. I think he hit 4 all in the second half.
And they were all like purposeful game plan. Like,
the Mavericks are fine.
Let them do that.
Yeah, let them shoot it. They were doing the Luke Cornett, contest from 25 feet. So it's so disrespectful, but I laugh every time it happens. But the Nuggets rally all the way back. Derek Lively commits his 5th foul at the 7-minute mark, and Lively we should talk about Lively more probably in the second half of the podcast. But Lively had a very kind of his fouling is he's making bad decisions. And the 5th foul was really, really maddening where, the Mavericks are up 5. You figure he's going to go out of the game. Gafford just has a much harder time with Jokic. I mean, they both do. He's an MVP. It's not really, a slight that they're not. But the friggin' Nuggets take a 2-point lead with about 5 minutes left, and it feels like the game is slipping away. All of a sudden, they have a 5-point lead. Not all of a sudden, the Mavericks just can't score over a period of minutes. At the 3-minute mark, the score is 113-108. It feels like everything's falling apart. And then what proceeds to happen is a PJ Washington personal 9-0 run, which was just, we should really focus on PJ here when I'm done sort of recapping the game. But PJ was absolutely magnificent for a series of this game. He finished, I think, with 21 points and 12 rebounds. And he won the Mavericks the game. The Nuggets finally take a timeout, about under a minute left. Jokic scores immediately because Jason Kidd and everybody I just think that this was not Kidd's finest game, quite simply. But the Mavericks managed to keep the lead because they come back down. And who scored that last basket? Oh, it's Najee Marshall with a really great driving layup with about 18 seconds left from the left side of the floor, kind of froze Jokic in place with a little ball fake underneath the basket. But then Jokic and fuck it. This is a fan podcast. Jokic proceeds to continually get away with outright murder for the last minute and a half of the game. Effectively throws Derek Lively to the ground following a pair of Westbrook intentional foul free throws. Tosses out a pass to somebody. Was it Peyton Watson? I mean, what was it? It was an incredible shot, is what it was. No, it's Jamal Murray. Sorry. Makes it Mavs up by 1 with a minute left, but the Kyrie Irving sinks a couple of free throws, and they just essentially it becomes a free throw shooting contest in which the Mavericks win. Really exciting end of the game, just kind of taxing. What I've talked for like 2 minutes straight. What should
PJ?
Okay, do you want to do PJ now, or should we do it? Let's do it now, and then we'll cut to a break because I got to do the ad read and stuff.
Yeah. The PJ stuff was great. The thing that I really liked about what they did with PJ was it was very purposeful the way they deployed him tonight, and it's kind of the stuff that we kind of talk about. Like they should do this more with him because sometimes I feel like they get away from PJ in a way that's like, no, this guy is pretty talented. He was a 12th overall pick from Kentucky. Like he's got some pedigree. He was a lottery pick from Kentucky that scored pretty well. Like he's a talented player. And sometimes I feel like he can get a little lost in the shuffle in terms of how they use him. And like, he's not huge, but he's a legit, he's listed 6'6". I swear he feels a little taller than that. He's got a good wingspan. He's athletic as all get out. He's comfortable in the mid-range and in the post. Like, I think, he's not out of sorts there. And I thought the Mavericks were very deliberate in the start of the game. And then obviously at the end of the game, like the Nuggets don't have Aaron Gordon. I can't remember what he's out with right now, but he's
calf
strain. So he's been out for a while. Like when Aaron Gordon's out, the Nuggets aren't a big team.
Nope.
Because it's Jokic and then guards and some forwards, like small forwards. Like they don't have a backup big like DeAndre. This was how bad it got. They played DeAndre Jordan because they didn't know what to do.
They kept trying stuff and none of it stuck.
Yeah. They don't have size. I think that's why that rookie that tore his Achilles, I think in the summer. I think they were hoping on him to give him some minutes. I can't remember what his name is, but they were counting on him. Like, and that's been a problem for most of the Jokic era is they haven't really had a backup center. Like their backup center has been Aaron Gordon and he's out. So I thought it was pretty deliberate. Like the Mavericks were like, none of these guys are as big as PJ Washington, size, strength. And PJ took it to the hole and posted up. They ran him off screens to get him touches on the block. And he drove. They got him against Jamal Murray late in the game. And he just like drove. Like, I mean, Murray is not a good defender. And it's like he went through him like Murray was a ghost. Like, it was kind of effortless. Like he kind of big boyed him, a little bit. So like I love that because I think Washington, especially if Washington's shot is going to be just like if his shot is gone, like I don't know what happened to his 3-pointer, but it's just whatever 3-pointer he had the first 3 or 4 years of his career, it's just not there. But he still has this touch. Like he's not useless as a scorer if he can't hit threes. I think he's actually more well-rounded. Like I don't think even when he was playing well in Charlotte as a scorer, I don't think it was all about his 3-pointer. I think he's pretty well-rounded in the mid-range and the paint. And I just love that the Mavericks had a very decisive game plan with that. Like that was deliberate and it was fun to watch Washington pay that off. And it was fun to watch them do that. And then, the other side of it, he's playing defense like a madman still. He's got 13 rebounds. He's got 3 steals. Like he's playing
he's that 30 rebounds in the past 2 games. Is it
17 and 13? He had 17 the game before.
Was that against the Thunder? My brain.
Yeah, 17 against the Thunder. So 17, 6, and 13 in the last
36 rebounds is pretty good in 3-game span. We'll
pretty
take
good.
it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's been incredible. You could argue he's probably been the second most important Maverick this season.
I think that's the case. I mean, if you'll remember, we were talking about his defense early in the season before he hurt his knee when his offense was simply not there.
Yeah,
like he was scoring. Putrid, and now he looks like just a very thorough player, well-rounded.
I mean, yeah, he's on pace for all defense. One of the teams. I don't know if it's first or second, but if he keeps this up, he will be on one of those teams.
Yeah. No, it's really something. Okay, guys, we're at a little bit past the halfway point that we try to hit, but this was a really fun game, so we'll talk about more things. I want to take a second to talk to you guys again about our brand new sponsor, Body Spec. A couple weeks ago, they reached out to Josh and I went and got a scan a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago. And just to tell you a little about what it is, Body Spec provides what's called a DEXA scan, which is a full body composition scan. It helps you understand what's going on with your body, whether you're an athlete, a person with a desk job like Josh and I, or a person who's really considering, restarting a fitness journey, anything like that. A DEXA scan is a great way to learn about where you are with your body. If you'll head to the show notes and click the Body Spec link, you can do that here on YouTube Live while we're here. If you could if you're listening on the audio stream, please head down to your show notes and do this. Last game, we had a lot of people go and click through, which I was very appreciative of. Consider signing up and actually getting a body scan. They have locations all over the DFW area. I was pretty surprised at that. And if you use the code PODMAVS45 at checkout, you'll get $15 off what's already a very affordable scan. With the holidays right around the corner, this is a great gift idea on top of being an interesting way to kick off any potential New Year's resolutions. Body Spec's competitors charge as much as $150 for a scan like this, so you'll be getting real usable information at a great price. Again, visit the bodyspec.com link and in the show notes and use the code PODMAVS45. Excuse me. I get that you guys will make fun of me for this, but it's worth noting that I actually gave out the wrong promo code last show, which is just remarkably impressive. I'm a details guy and I just botched the promo code. So it's PODMAVS45 unless I can't read. Yes, PODMAVS45 in all caps. That's the important part there. Josh is I'm bullying him into getting one very soon as well, and then we will be able to tell you a little bit more about it. Look, guys, we've not had an actual sponsor on this show outside of the ads that we come in here, and part of that is because I didn't want to partner with something that I actually wouldn't use myself. And this is a really, really good product. I am looking forward to it. As I told Josh the other day, one element, I'm in pretty good shape, guys. I really am. Like I can run a sub 6 mile. But one of the things that told me about a certain kind of body fat that I have too much of called visceral fat, like has sort of shook me.
Does it have to be called visceral?
I know, like just such a bleak fucking name for it. But anyway, we're going to talk more about that in the coming days and weeks. I would really appreciate it if you guys looked into this and did it. It would help us a lot. Of course, I still have the promo code spelled wrong in the banner on the show. It's PODMAVS45. Let me just edit that again. PODMAVS45. Jeez, I'm just a professional. And that will go a long way and maybe get you a discounted body scan. So yeah, and report back. You guys know I like to talk to all of you. If you're considering this sort of thing, I'm happy to tell you about my experience. All right, so we're going to insert some show notes here. Again, if you haven't, some podcast additional ads, just consider listening to those. That's another thing that can help Josh and I, and we will be right back.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
With the $5 meal deal at McDonald's, you pick a McDouble or a McChicken, then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money.
Price and participation may vary. For a limited time only.
One day I'm going to nail these sort of things because I actually do like talking about things. I like talking about this product.
Hey, one day I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it this weekend. So
nice.
I'll join you.
Yeah. Well, and then we'll be able to talk more about it and tell the show. All right. So what else should we be talking about? Because I don't want to talk about any of the bad stuff until the very end.
Yeah, that's fine. Then let's talk about the other thing that kind of won them the game in the final when they got down 5, besides PJ scoring, was Derek Lively's defense. We talked about his weird fouls the first half. And people are really mad about the whistle he's getting, and I get it. I don't necessarily disagree, especially with how the game was called second half of last season, which we've talked about seemingly on almost every podcast, how they're calling games tighter than they were post All-Star break last season. And I'm sure some of this is kind of like a shell because he got used to you get used to that, and then you come out this season and they're back to you breathe on someone and it's a foul. Like that sucks and you have to adjust. So he's definitely gotten hosed on some calls. Like you said, that fifth foul was like kind of nonsense. His fourth foul was even worse, where he just ran through Jamal Murray setting a pin down screen. He just runs through him. I mean, it wasn't like a very physical foul, but like he fouled him. And I'm just like, what? And he had 3 foul. Like, why is that your fourth foul? That should be your first or your second. Like, that cannot be your fourth foul in the third quarter. He's just had some really, like I said this earlier in the Slack and on Twitter, he's had more rookie fouls this season than he did last season, which was his actual rookie season. I feel like I'm sure I'm being hyperbolic there, but that's how it feels. And then in the final 3 minutes, he turned into the freaking Terminator rim protecting stud that he was for most of last season. And in the playoffs, like 2 monster blocks.
He took that horrible fall, and then he played the best basketball, like connected looking basketball that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, that looked like the Lively we expect, which we have very high expectations because we believe in him as a player so much. But yeah, totally changed the game in the last 3 minutes, shut down the paint, ridiculous help side, weak side protection on those blocks. Very clean blocks too, no doubters. Really helped kind of shut off the Nuggets water there in the final 3 minutes. Like did everything he should. Also was able to finish the game. Didn't foul in the final 3 minutes when he had 5 fouls. Like
I feel like they just swallowed their whistles, between both teams, which is fine. Yeah.
Let's be honest. That's what the Mavericks want, right? I mean, that's how they want to play defense, right? If they swallow the whistle, they've got big badasses that want to beat the hell out of you in the paint. So that's gonna favor how they want to play. So yeah, I thought Lively was awesome down the stretch. And I got some while you were doing your ad read. This isn't up to date after this game. Actually, let me refresh it and see if it is. But I was looking at this data earlier today, and Cleaning the Glass has some good lineup data, and it's early. And per 100 possession data, when you haven't even played 20 games of a season is very iffy. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Like a bad game can really throw off per 100 possession data. Like you can go from a plus 10 net rating to a plus 2 in one game right now. Well, maybe not now, but we're still that early in the season that there's still swings. But having said all that, entering this game, Lively and PJ Washington shared the floor for 252 possessions, about 127 minutes. They are a plus 10.3 per 100 possessions in those 252 possessions. The defensive rating, 100.4 points per 100 possessions.
Jeez.
For reference, the Oklahoma City Thunder have the best defense in the NBA, and they're at 103 per 100 possessions. So that duo is absolutely kicking the shit out of other teams right now defensively. The offense isn't great. That net rate, that plus 10 is basically because the defense is so awesome. But the three most played lineups of the Lively and PJ have great offensive numbers. And those are the ones that have Clay, which is not a shocking, not a surprise, because PJ's not hitting threes and Lively's not a shooter. You need Clay shooting to make that lineup work. And I know people are going to be really pissed off about Clay, and we can maybe lead into Clay. 0 for 8, obviously not good, needs to make shots, but his floor gravity matters. Now he's stretching the limits of that floor gravity when he misses all of his shots. But I think that's the secret ingredient to why the Clay PJ lineups have worked. The Mavericks are allowed to be that good defensively with those two because Clay's shooting threat, opens things up, and it just does. And even when he's missing shots, it opens things up. Now he's going to have to make shots. Like if he keeps missing shots, your teams are going to shift maybe a little bit how they guard. But yeah, that's how it works. That's how
a guy like that doesn't ever really lose.
His reputation is
it's reputational because it's like a bad shooter becoming a good shooter still doesn't get the attention. So it's like a good shooter becoming a slightly less good shooter. It's I'm not super concerned about it. I mean, it is annoying, but the fact, like when I back up and I say, okay, the Dallas Mavericks won without Luka Doncic. Kyrie Irving had a 51% true shooting percentage, i.e. he shot the ball horribly for people that don't know how to calculate true shooting percentage. And then Clay was 0 for 8. Like this is great, man. And El Sporco is talks about Westbrook's noting Westbrook hitting 4 threes. Like there was a lot of stuff in this game that was weird. And that the Mavericks came away with the win is just I think it's going to be one we look back at and go, that was where some things really started to come together.
I think so. If I told you before this game that Russell Westbrook would hit 4 3-pointers and Kyrie would hit 1, I think we would both say the Mavericks lost by 20 or like this was a blowout loss. Instead, they went in Denver with Jokic looking like the MVP. It's a great win. I'm seeing some quotes coming in from post game. Apparently, the PJ Washington kind of let it be known that there was a team meeting after that Utah Jazz loss, which is great. Like that was an embarrassing loss. They needed to look in the mirror after that game. That's what we said. We were like, pretty
fucking important.
Yeah,
and pretty important. Not only that they had the team meeting, but that they had the team meeting and it didn't get leaked. Like for anybody that doesn't know what I'm alluding to, the Sixers had a team meeting and we knew what happened like during the meeting. Like there was a plant in the room coming out. So it's really something to indicate that they understood the problem. They acknowledged and started to figure out how to deal with it.
And they acknowledged that there was a problem. That's also important.
Mm-hmm. So there's some really good post-game quotes. Like Najee said, we want to go to Vegas, which is let's just say Mavs Moneyball staff is not super enthused about the idea of having games, of having to look at more games. But we'll deal with it as it comes. This was really something. Let me see here. So we Clay will figure it out, and even if he doesn't figure it out, you got to get the guy shots. 8 shots, I think, is fine. Who else? Like Grimes played a really great game.
Grimes was great. Yeah. Just
another stocking stuffer of a basketball game from him. Lots of different statistical contributions. Gafford, who we didn't really talk about, had an interesting game. 27 minutes, 13 points, 6 boards, 3 steals, which is something. He guarded
his job.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not stopping Jokic. You go look at Jokic's stat line, and you're like, all right, the Mavericks just don't do anything to him. Nobody does anything to him. Jokic, like this is, I get our guy Matthew, who has written for the site for a long time and does these playbacks with me. He and I were in kind of a Jokic argument today. Like Jokic is just like, we're going to look back at this and be like, all right, we were watching one of the best players of all time, and nobody wanted to talk about it because nobody knew how to contextualize the kind of frumpy looking fat guy, like just killing people. Jokic he didn't even play that well tonight, man, and he was still unreal. So I'm really proud of how Gafford played him, and how even PJ and Najee played him a little bit, because there's lots of switches and stuff going on the floor. Really rough Jaden Hardy minutes. Hardy has the worst, like he has a negative 16 in 13 minutes, which means he was out there when things went to hell. Feel bad for him. I thought he's had a pretty good stretch of basketball, only to kind of, I didn't say he walked it back, but it's just it's a bump in the road. I think you say on to the next. I'm not too worried about it. He's look, if Jaden Hardy is contributing at a high level for 82 games, you got a player far outplaying his salary. So it's he's doing what he can. Do you have any more thoughts about the game itself? Because I'm sure there's other stuff that I'm just not thinking of, but I'm tired.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm trying to think. We've already talked about a half hour, so not too long. I guess the only thing I would want to ask, because I think we've kind of hit on why they won, why they played well, who played the best. Do you there's people, obviously this is more like online community, and even in our Slack, Matthew brought it up in our Slack. Like the Quentin Grimes, like when Luka comes back, like Grimes is going to hit the bench. Like, I don't think Clay is coming off the bench. Like there's like a movement, obviously, of the online fans that like are thinking like start Grimes, Clay off the bench. But like, I don't see it. At least in the regular season, I don't see it happening because they're doing all right. Like, I don't know. Like they would have to lose a bunch of games. Like they'd have to lose like 9 of 10 or something, I think, to make it that drastic of a switch, because it can't be emphasized enough how much Clay hated coming off the bench for the Warriors last season. So I don't know why you'd want to rock that boat. And also, I talked about the numbers earlier with Washington and Lively together. You look at the numbers, Clay, Washington, and Lively are kicking ass also. So like if this starting lineup is crushing it. So I don't really know why you'd want to change it, even with Clay kind of having up and down shooting performances. I don't know. What do you think? Because I just don't think that just rocks the boat too much. I don't think they need to rock the boat.
I think with the age of half of this roster, that figuring out what the ideal lineups and rotation is kind of a fool's errand. Is that too much? Because I think the moment Luka comes back, we're probably going to see Kyrie take a break for a game or two. Some of these other guys, Clay might need a game. I don't know. I think they're going to continue to try different stuff. I mean, this schedule stretch outside of, there's like a New York game, but this schedule stretch up until Christmas is as soft as we're like, it's Los Angeles Lakers soft. I mean, they play a goofy Miami team Sunday. They play Atlanta, New York, Utah, Portland, Memphis, Washington, Toronto, Clippers, Portland, Minnesota. Like, not to be ridiculous, but if you're like a mega optimist, there's not a game in there where you go, that's a Mavericks loss. There's just not.
No. And
Which
the Knicks aren't even playing great.
Yeah. I mean, you get you have a road back-to-back where you play in Utah and Portland, who are two of the worst teams in the league. You have Memphis after that, who is obviously a talented team, but my God, they have pissed somebody off and with the injury bug they keep having.
Yep.
So there's just a lot of opportunities to try things while pushing up their kind of statistical markers. So I'm very interested in what the days and weeks ahead are going to see for us. And that doesn't, obviously, as I was reading that out, there's this massive gap in the schedule. We had one of our writers pop in and be like, why are there no games scheduled between Saturday, December 7th and Thursday, December 19th? It's because of the potential cup games. So obviously they could play some tougher games in there if the Mavericks make the cup, but then they also could play one and go home.
Right.
So, the point differential stuff with the Mavericks is also going to make a difference. I'm not really paying too much attention to the NBA Cup. We had a really good breakdown from Tyler Edsel that's up on MavsMoneyball.com if you're curious as to how things are working. This was a big win in that regard, but I just don't really think about the NBA Cup. I think about the NBA Championship. So
that's fair.
We'll see.
I don't think I got anything else. I feel like
no. All right, 1 a.m. I'm going to stay up like a psychopath, and I'll do a second show. I have a 8:45 call time for a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. But I mean, if anybody wants to talk for another half hour, 45 minutes or so, I can do so. So I'm going to kick us on over to Mavs Party because we've not had one of those in a couple of days, or at least it's been a week, just because everything's been ridiculous in my world. So let's kick on over to that. Josh, thanks so much. We will talk with you guys soon, and please hang out and go Mavs.